That's good.
Well, it is. And then I remembered to put the chat on. Oh, there's my pin post. Oh, everything is looking peachy.
Great.
Nobody's on, but I don't expect them to be because we started 5 hours before.
Because I don't want to talk small talk with them for 25 minutes.
It's recording.
To redo the whole of the
We've got 15, 16 people on. Hello, what are you all doing here when I'm so early?
Oh, Bennett, you have my tea yet?
Well, I don't understand. Let me have a look. We've got Deborah. Well, no, now it says 6, so maybe that's all right.
10 have left.
Well, I was going to say.
Deborah,
hello.
Oh, it is Deborah.
No, that's Winnipeg.
It might be, yeah, it is Deborah.
Well, there's more than Deborah. More than one Deborah.
I bet it's Deborah that I know who I bet it's Deborah who came up with my...
She's from Winnipeg, Cannabed.
Yes.
Cannabed! I warn you, we've had 3 coffees in a row. If it doesn't all go mad, I don't know. Well, do you know what? I'm amazed. The thing is, I'm very tiny on your screen. I'm very tiny in real life, Seth. Sorry, Seth.
We have a microphone on.
Oh, yes, sorry, darling. Yeah, well, Sorry, darling.
What you doing?
Well, no. I'm just thinking if I hold that, you do that, it's going to be splendid. The thing is, we had so much trouble. Yeah. Push. Oh my goodness gracious. We had so much problems. So many. Oh, now what have you done? We had so many problems. Will I finish a sentence? Maybe not. For the interview, I thought I'm going to start 20 minutes beforehand because that will give us loads of time to sort ourselves out. Of course, it's gone straight through. And the trouble is now, not really prepared, and I look absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. I've never seen anything so awful in the whole of my life. And not only that, I can't get my microphone on.
You want me to?
Well, please. Tweak my mic, Ian.
Come on, get it on there like that.
Tour's not 50 minutes early. It's we were scheduled for 6:30, so it's 19 minutes early.
Look, at least we're on. We're not going off again now.
We're not coming off. You've got us.
Have a bit more.
Sorry,
I'll give you enough rope. There we are.
Oh dear, I've never had 3 coffees in a row in my life before.
I'm a bad influence.
Oh, Nicole's saying, just so you know, you're very tiny. How can I be very tiny?
On the screen or at the side of me?
I don't know. I am very tiny. How can I be very tiny? Now what? Hi both. The picture is quite small in landscape, surrounded by a portrait black border and bottom. Well, that's just... Do you know what? I literally... Let's see, was it that? No.
It's not that.
Honestly, is everything we do going to be a nightmare? Is that any better? When they said I was quite
tiny on screen. Yeah, I thought you meant Léonie was tiny next to me.
Right, has that made us larger? Did you have the phone the wrong way round when you started? No. Right.
No, I don't know quite.
No, we had it the right way, didn't we?
I don't know what's going on because it looks perfectly fine.
This is just
it's
honest.
Full screen on the phone here.
Right, it's still small. Right, I think let's stop. We'll come. Yeah, well, that doesn't make any sense. Right, well,
we're on landscape mode.
I don't know what to do. No, I know. I can only think that somebody said.
Oh, it's on like that.
No, turning your phone. No, I understand. So, please, dear Lord, if anything is tiny square, right? Yes, I knew what you meant. Well, yes, I knew what you meant. Ian now knows what you meant. Now I've restarted. Has it made any difference? Baggy's saying, oh, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Honestly, I couldn't cope. I'm now large. I've eaten all my biscuits. I just had a drop of rain on my head, or did you spit on me? No. Well, you should have said yes, because if you spat on me.
I'm not going to admit to that in front of all these people.
I think, well...
I don't know what kind of people you usually hang around with.
Is that lunch on your top?
Probably.
No, then?
From a few days ago, probably.
So I didn't tell you. So at the end, right, so we went to the pub. It's proper raining now, isn't it?
I'll be all right.
I managed to spill my lunch not only on my t-shirt but also on my jeans, which I thought was splendid, absolutely splendid. Do you actually have an umbrella? Do you have any backup plan if it rains?
I do, but it's in the car.
Yeah, I've got an umbrella as well. It's in the car. Marvellous. My hay fever, as you can see, is terrible. So I've got hay fever and it's starting to piddle.
Yeah, we're all right. No,
I know, it's fine. Well, it is, slightly. Anyway, so this is the pre-live, just so you know. Where's my belly? Are you asking me where my belly is? My belly?
Mine's here.
Well, funnily enough, our bellies... Oh, brelly, you mean brolly. Oh, gosh, she's not asking where our belly is. I'm so glad.
Oh,
I'm going to say, my belly is actually in the same places as everybody else. It's my brolly.
My brolly's in the car.
Brolly is in the car. His brolly is in his car. Both of our cars are a good 15-minute walk away.
In opposite directions.
In opposite directions. However, the good thing is we've got loads of microphone leads, so we could both run and see who gets there first. The other thing is, like all good virtual guides, neither of us are necessarily concerned about getting wet ourselves. It's always about the tech. However, Ian's less concerned about the tech because it's my phone and my gimbal.
No, I am really concerned about it.
Are you? Is that a concerned face?
Yes, because
Well, look.
I don't want to feel responsible for the demise of your gimbal phone.
Well, no, I don't want you to be. But we could go somewhere with an overhanging hang.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for the dribbles to subside.
Looking around and
Well, there is that place under there.
Crockers,
Yeah.
Henley. What about there?
Well, that what?
Oh, there, it's got nice.
Oh, Crockers. Crockers. We're going to. By the way, we're on. Oh no! I saw two tiny little bones from food earlier, and I've just trod on them. Boo-hoo! It's all going terribly wrong. We've just come from the pub, Jeff. We had 3 coffees in quick succession. Let's double check we don't lose people. Please keep your distance. Well, at least we can... Oh, hello.
Oh, no. We're about to see on the concrete if it's raining.
No, it's all right. We've still got signal. We're now looking like 2 weirdos.
Hanging out in shop
Hanging
doorways.
out in a shop doorway.
We're doing a live stream in a shop doorway. At least it's a posh restaurant type shop.
And Janice doesn't apparently want to know about our belly. No, well, the thing is, you go into Wetherspoons and you can get a coffee, which is splendid, so we did, but then you get free refills. Just so you know, we've got 12 minutes. This will be the longest pre-live ever because, well, we were worried about the tech. And to be fair, we did have a tech issue.
Yeah, so it's good that we got
So
on
exactly, it's good that we went on so early. We didn't expect everybody to be joining us so early. The problem is, of course, is that we don't know who has booked, as it were. Free refills, Tish. So we don't know how many people we're expecting. So on the last one, I thought, golly gosh, there's not many people for Ian's interview. Oh, that's embarrassing. I won't tell him because there was 18 on the stream. And then, of course, we found out, oh, nobody was there because they're all, all stuck in an empty space somewhere. Well, Marlene booked. She booked. I think she means she pinged on that notify bell. I have had far too many coffees. Far too many. 38 now, pre-tour. True, pre-tour, 10 minutes. I'm just going to keep repeating in case people think the tour of Henley-on-Thames is actually Ian and I stood in a doorway. I'm not even
Great
sure.
tour that would indeed be.
It would be a fantastic tour. It would be, and we do like a doorway. We have established we do like a doorway. I'll be honest, not particularly this doorway, no. It could actually do with a bit of... Does it look like somebody's tried to break in there? Or just...
It just looks like
Sorry, I've realised as I'm turning round, I'm moving the gimbal into my left earlobe. So,
There's me.
has anyone else got a frozen picture? No, mine's not frozen. Is yours frozen? 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 No, we're not frozen. We're quite warm. What is Ian doing back there? Oh, great clanging. Sorry about the clanging.
That's not me.
I know. Somebody's putting the chairs outside. It's, I don't think, he's putting metal chairs away because I'll show you, shall I?
a coffee shop
I'll
that's
show
just
you.
closed,
I'll show the flip camera so you can see where the noise is coming from.
You'll be able to see it's not me. Clumsy that I am.
See? See? Stop trying to, I know your games. Stop trying to see the grand reveal before we actually do the revealus grandus. Lovely to see you all saying hello to each other.
Yeah.
Good picture and nice musical performance.
What, is that clanging noise? That's
Well,
good.
I'm going to say that always worries me. That may mean that at some point,
Avant-garde music.
well, it makes me worry because I do have a tendency of singing somewhat.
Oh no, you're going to be singing later when we.
I will be, except you'll have to remind me about which song is which. But that's a little secret for later, Dusty Springfield fans. So how is everybody? I think we might be at least... Do you think we should venture? So we've already gone to this large building.
Well, nobody is.
And I walked off the step and went, oops. And then Ian went off the steps and went bigger oops. And this was literally after we'd just met, so that was a little bit concerning. A little bit concerning indeed. So we've got 9 minutes to go.
Yeah, very good.
But are you happy with this kind of look and feel?
I think it's pretty good, yeah.
Excellent. So you think now YouTube, you're going to be a YouTuber?
I might have a little go.
I think you should have a little go. Only now we are YouTubers, I think.
YouTubers.
Because we can be musical as well.
Can we?
Because Ian did say Kelsey has hit her 1,000 followers and is going to be doing an opera concert.
But I'm not doing... If I get to 1,000 subscribers, I am not doing a live opera concert.
What will you do?
I don't know.
Well, I think you need to know, Ian. Don't ask me what I'm going to do. I think it's very well. I won't say it's very unlikely. I may well get to 1,000.
I think you should do a big cat tour. You should go to
Oh, I love
Safari Park.
I've got
or
a big
something.
cat sanctuary near to me. They're
Oh,
fabulous.
there you go.
Yeah, no, I think what we need is people to suggest what you should do, Ian, for 1,000 subscribers.
I think I could form a guides band and I could have
Oh, yes.
Ginny on the saxophone and
Kelsey singing.
Kelsey singing and Claire, who I know is not a guide but is one of our regulars.
Well, you just said guide, so what you mean is actually form a band.
Form a band and
Right.
Claire can play any number of instruments. Do we have any other musicians among the guiding fraternity?
Yes, Paul sings.
Who sings?
Paul Endicott.
Oh, I thought you meant Paul in Edinburgh.
No. Well, he probably
Paul
does.
Endicott sings and plays guitar.
Yes, he
doesn't
does. Yes, see? Liz can play tambourine.
Cool.
Right, splendid. Well, that was
Oh, yeah,
rubbish.
that's
We're
it.
trying to do something to embarrass you, not to actually start a band. Such a kid thing. Gerard plays the kazoo.
I bet he does very well as well. Hot dog eating contest, okay.
Hot dog. Oh no.
Had a lovely day when I went to London last summer. I had a lovely day in the pub with Paul Endicott and Gerard and Natalie.
Oh
We had a
yes,
lovely day
I
in the
remember.
pub.
I remember.
We did a
I
little,
think I saw the
Facebook
photos,
Live,
didn't I? Yeah.
We juggle guinea pigs.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't
so
know
he's
about
not
that.
juggling.
I couldn't juggle one of something.
And it was gerbils. We're on the wrong side of each other as well, aren't we?
Sings, are we?
Yeah, I need to be on the left. Well, I could just
It's our little
No!
I need to stay where I am.
Oh. Oh dear, sorry.
That's why I don't do much dancing. Gerbil race. I haven't got any gerbils at the moment. So.
Dear. Oh dear, I tell you, I've no idea. 3 coffees each. We can't
Emma,
even
you've
get...
heard Paul in Edinburgh singing? When he
Oh, yeah. Right, we've got 6 minutes till we go live. Six minutes.
Which one's Ant and which one's Deck? Oh, I'm the tall one. That's Ant. I know the tall one's Ant. And the
Yes,
little
and
one's Dick.
Declan. Well, to be fair, there's like about a little inch in between, not even, well, maybe an inch in between them. How tall are you?
How tall am I? 6 foot.
6 foot. I'm 5'5". 5 for 5'5".
You're taller than Natalie.
Well, most people
When
are
I did
taller
my
than
collaboration with Natalie, we realised quite how short she was. I had to crouch down to get us both in shot at the
I
same
found
time.
a garden gnome taller than Natalie.
I'm
Hello
doing
from
a Zoom
Stoke
tomorrow.
on Trent. Oh, Ian's
Hello,
doing
Lisa.
a Zoom. I thought.
I'm doing a Zoom.
No, Ian's doing a Zoom. So
I'm
she
doing-
went, yes, no.
Me. Yes. I'm doing a Zoom tomorrow. I've got a chat tour tomorrow. So if you want to come along and just have a chat for £1 to cover the platform costs.
What platform are you doing it on? Zoom.
It's through my own stuff, but it's just to cover, what they're going to charge me for putting the tickets through.
A whole £1! Goodness gracious, a whole £1!
And it's going to be just a chat. There's going to be the
A
video
chat?
from one of my scenic tours on in the background, and everybody can just have a chat. There's going to be no commentary or anything like that. It's just a chance to have a nice community evening and have a little look. Ginny, if you look on the guide's calendar, it should be on there. It is at 8:30 UK time. So whatever time.
In the morning or the evening?
In the evening.
Just to be clear.
So whatever time this is in your time zone, 2 hours later than this is when it starts tomorrow night.
Indeed. We've got 4 minutes until we go live. 4 minutes until we go live. It's the longest go live in the history of go lives.
It is. Good job we're not counting it down like Finn does.
Does he?
Finn used to count only the last 10 seconds.
Oh, really?
He used to start 20 minutes in
9.
advance.
Yeah, no, we would have got. So thank you all for joining our pre-live, though. There's been
Yep, Tish, it's on the guide's calendar, my tomorrow thing.
Live Virtually, See the World. And if you're not in Live Virtually, See the World, please join. If you're not in Léonie on Tour Facebook group, please join. If you're on
Ian IAB Tours.
Please join.
Please join those.
Please subscribe to our Facebook channels. Please sing the ukulele. Can you sing a ukulele?
Can I sing the ukulele?
Exactly.
Yes.
No.
I'd be better at singing the ukulele than playing the ukulele.
Exactly. I can still feel these
Beatrice,
little...
the link to the chat tour. Ah, cool.
I've just realised I have got a little hoodie. So if it rains,
Yeah.
I can end up looking like the Green Goblin.
Oh yes, Robin Hood.
Robin Hood, riding down the glen. Robin
Right.
Hood, where's this man? Yeah.
We're going to be Claire's. You see, Claire's joining the band
Oh, hello.
again.
Hello. Oh, right, splendid. Well, there you are. You've got a ukulele. Oh my goodness, 2 minutes to go. We are so nearly there.
And then we can stop
Yeah, and I'm not even.
talking rubbish and start talking about some.
How very dare! I'm not talking rubbish. How rude! How rude!
I am.
How rude! How absolutely rude! And Ian, of course, yes, but he hasn't gone hair in.
No, my
Did the wind blow your hair off?
No, I left my hat at home. I got it out this morning because I got a nice straw one out because I thought in a place that is known for its posh
Hats.
rowing festivals, a straw hat should be the thing, and I left it at home. So
He left it at home. Nightmare.
I know,
Nightmare.
terrible,
We have
disgraceful.
umbrellas in our respective cars.
Beatrice, you could do some yodeling. Fantastic.
Yodeling.
Cool.
I'm just very pleased because when we first got here, Henley was really quite busy, and I was like, having two of us who are quite loud wandering around. I need this new tour since we just got a new puppy and he's supposed to be taking a nap. Are you saying we're going to send your puppy to sleep? I think we'll probably excite the puppy and he will need some puppy pads.
Singer too. A nice
So many
striped blazer
singers.
and a cravat.
So
I
many
know.
singers. We are literally got 1 minute, and then we're going to be going live. It's very exciting. I literally had 72 people, and now we've only got 71. One person's dropped out by the looks of it before we even went live.
They could have just had a tech issue.
Could have had a tech issue. Maybe it's a
Or
tech
they
issue.
came by mistake.
Maybe they went, who? What? We are live. We are live. But when I mean live, I mean as in
The actual tour.
Starting the tour rather than just looking at us. Yes. Right, we're bang on. We're bang on the nose. Shall we start moving? Shall we? So basically, hello. So I'm Léonie, and this
I'm Ian.
is, and we are your hosts for today. You're on the YouTube channel, which is splendid. You are on Léonie-on-Tour YouTube channel. Ian has his own, which is called something.
IAB Tours.
Thank you. Please do follow and subscribe to our channels. If you would like to support us, then I have pinned a post which has got a link to my PayPal and to my Buy Me a Coffee. What I'm doing is mopping up all of the donations that have been made today, and we will be splitting them between ourselves because it was just easiest to do that. So an Excel spreadsheet beckons, which is rather lovely. So I'm going to be turning the camera around and showing you what we are indeed looking at. So we are in the town of Henley-on-Thames. Now the reason why it says on Thames is, you won't believe it, it's actually on the river. So population wise, you're looking about 12,000 people, so not a massive place. Now originally it was in 1179 King Henry II bought some land for buildings, and that's when we think that actually it was starting to become more populated. However, there's archaeological evidence of people being living in Henley since the 2nd century. In the 14th century, because of the Black Death, Henley lost about 60% of its population. Although, as we don't actually know what the population was, I couldn't tell you numbers, but that's rather a chunk of people to die from the Black Death. Now, in 2016, one of the British banks, Lloyd's, actually said it was the second most expensive market town in the country. And the average property price is rather an eye-watering $748,000. However, what I would say is Ian and I have been looking in the doors of some of the estate agents, and we're looking at properties worth $1 million, $1.5 million. Now, this is...
When you say looking at, you don't mean with a view to purchasing?
No, well we did. We put down an offer on one of them. 300 buildings in the town are designated of special architectural or historic interest, which is actually quite mammoth. And we're going to be showing you some of those today, if indeed we actually ever get to cross this road. So...
Okay, you want to talk about the town hall?
Yes, I can talk.
Now we're in a bit.
Well, I can talk about the town hall. Did you want to take the gimbal?
I will take the old gimbally off you
for me, please. Okay, so we're looking at the town hall, which is a Grade 2 listed building. Now, it was designed by Henry Hare as in the larger version of a rabbit, Baroque style, and it was opened by the local MP. Now, interestingly enough, originally there were iron gates, but they were replaced 8 years later by wooden doors, which I think the iron gates would have looked rather splendid, but those were given to Holy Trinity Church. Now, it was built for Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. The previous building stood on this site, but it was deemed too small. And so it was taken down, but it was taken down brick by brick and actually rebuilt. And the mayor at the time was a successful builder, so it was reused. Now, the original building had an assembly hall, and downstairs in the basement was a lockup for petty criminals, and it was also used as the venue for the draw to determine the qualifying teams for Henley Royal Regatta. And we'll be talking about the Royal Regatta later on in the tour. Now, in World War I, it was used as a Red Cross voluntary aid detachment auxiliary hospital. And we can see when we walk up, you can actually see the names of those who died from Henley, from World War I, on either side of the doors. And you can actually see that underneath they've added the names who died in the Second World War. But unfortunately, there's been so many killed that actually the list continues inside. But I think you can see it's an absolutely gorgeous building. And if I can just...
What do you want to do there? There we go.
Oh, If you...
Oh, that's where we
all
fell
right.
down before. That's the one we fell down before.
Yeah, we've both fallen down there before, so we're going to fall down and just have a little look. Wonky, because for some reason it's a little bit on the wonk. Look at that beautiful detailing. And so you can see here, and just to say that I wasn't actually telling fibs, and there's a complete list of those who gave their lives in World War I inside. And we'll just show you quickly the view from the town hall so you can see what is coming up and what an absolutely stunning town we're in at the moment. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to pass to Ian.
Okay. Now we're going to be talking on this tour quite a bit about some of the wealthy people and how Henley has a long and illustrious history as an inland port on the River Thames, and the wealth that generated. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the Royal Regatta, which is one of the big society events in this country every summer. But of course, wherever you have the wealthy people, you also have the poorer people. And just behind the town hall, at the top of this little hill, this was where you found, in originally the late 18th century, but mainly the 19th century, but it was expanded, was the Henley workhouse. And the workhouse was an institution that was set up in towns and cities all over England as a place where the poorest people could go if they were really in desperate times. It was really the last resort to go into the workhouse, where you would be given basic accommodation and food, but you would be working in very difficult conditions and under a very harsh regime. But the workhouse was on this street, and also on this street before it was developed, there was an area that was known for being where the poorest people, which were a lot of agricultural workers who were maybe looking for a day's work here, a day's work there, they would actually kind of stay with their families. That's right, the steps are designed to increase the number of casualties. It's the people who've fallen over trying to film the plaque. They had our names onto there. And they would go up there, and they would also wait outside the workhouse, because the workhouse had permanent residents and they had what was known as the casual section. And that meant a place where you could stay just for one night if they had enough space, enough beds, and people could go in there. So the workhouse was up there, and the poor people, the poorest of society, would be there just on the edge, so that they could come down into the town, and they would be able to then try to pick up a little bit of work from the markets and things like that. Yeah, you're right, Corinne. One of the jobs was to pick apart oakum rope strand by strand, and I know my sister Emma is on the tour, and we visited a workhouse that's like now open as a sort of a visitor museum, and I've got a great picture of Emma picking apart some oakum. I'll have to post it on Facebook if I can find it, if she doesn't mind.
Right.
So, what are you? Market Square? Am I market squaring?
Yes, and what I would say is we have got a little bit of exciting celebrity who used to live at the very top of that road. If we come back to Henley, we can take you. Are there any Beatles fans in the chat?
Yes, I believe. Well, I'm sure
there will be.
Well, there's one here. I love the Beatles.
And who was it lived at the top of the hill then, Ian?
It was none other than Mr. George Harrison.
George Harrison.
And his widow still lives there.
She does. And obviously it's a rather gorgeous. It's a little bit too far for us to walk to incorporate it into the town. But I'm sure if we came back, we can somehow incorporate it. Although you may just be looking at the outside of the gates.
Was that where he was attacked? I don't know. You see the Fool on the Hill, Wendy, very good. Well, you see, to get there we'd have to go up a long and winding road.
A long and winding road. Right, marketplace.
Okay, so we're in the marketplace of Henley, which is actually, this has kind of gone full circle in terms of the way it is laid out, because it was the main market area in the centre of town in the medieval period. So we are pretty sure that Henley got its first market charters in the early 13th century from King John. And so by the middle of the 13th century, it was well established as a market centre. There's an awful lot of agricultural land around here, woodlands where they're getting the timber and so on. But over the years, the markets sort of, over the 19th and 20th century, this area just became a road. But it was only in the year 2000 when it was actually re-pedestrianised. There's still a traffic on one side, but the market square in front of the town hall was re-pedestrianised, and they do still have markets here. And the market day traditionally in Henley was a Thursday. Some of the other market towns in the area had market charters already by the time Henley got its market charter, so some of the days were kind of already taken by neighbouring towns, and the idea was really that you'd have your markets on different days. Got some lovely flowers here in the market square as well. I've just realised you need to tell a little story, because I'm doing the 3 tons.
Yes,
Am I doing the 3 tons as well?
After,
okay,
yes.
Well, don't worry, folks. You're going to get a good long story from Léonie very shortly.
Are we separating at the place, or shall we walk there?
Let's walk there.
Yes, I think so.
Because I've got form for that on collaboration.
Right.
Okay, so what we have on the market square is one of, well, literally dozens of historic taverns in the town. There are many pubs, many of them associated with the local breweries, of which a little bit more later. This pub is called the 3 Tons. This is one that is still open as a pub, but it's got an interesting history of the building, as well as being a pub. The building used to function partly as the town mortuary, and I guess that's because of the cellars, the cool cellars. So you would often find that pub cellars would be used in times of war and things like that for storing bodies in. But this was just a place generally, I guess, because of its central location. And you would often find in medieval towns that before we had designated courthouses and that kind of thing, you would have things like inquests would be held in pubs, and because they were the only real kinds of public buildings other than churches that existed. So they had the mortuary in there, in which they had a system of pulleys, and they used a pulley system to move the bodies around. Yes, and Tish, that is a great, I love that joke, Tish, that you have to be careful ordering a stiff one in there. So I'm going to give me back to Léonie now we've finished talking about mortuaries and bodies.
Right, you would, of course, just as soon as the traffic has started up again.
Of course.
So I risked my own life. Right, so we're going to walk past Sweaty Betty, which obviously is just a fabulous name for a shop. And I'm going to tell my gimbal to behave. And we're going to just have a quick nose down Duke Street. Now, Duke Street, back in the 1640s, was actually barely wider than a single carriageway. But on the 1870, they actually, we might as well cross while it's, oh, no we won't. Ian trying to kill me. Again, a TVR, can we please appreciate, TVR. Anybody, just to interrupt my story, a TVR is a fantastic classic car, and TVR actually is abbreviations for Trevor. Now, I do dare say...
I'll see you there.
Wow, you're right there, mate. Jeez. over now before we end up.
I'm so sorry.
We told him not to come until 10 to.
Oh, this is unfair. Right. Oh, sorry. So I was talking about in 1870. I'm so sorry.
You're going to be famous.
You've ruined my video. I can't talk. Oh dear me. In 1870, the western side with medieval steps were demolished. However, oh dear me. So this is why you're seeing it as much larger now. Now, originally it was called Duck Street because it had a stream that marked the parish boundary which had ducks. But now, unfortunately, that stream
He's under the
runs underground. Oh dear, I'm
Compose
so
yourself,
sorry.
my dear. Come
I'm
on.
trying to talk about something very serious now. And unfortunately, I have seen a man trip up and then a man
Just run into him. Electricity substation.
Stop it!
I tell you what, we thought we were the clumsiest people in this town tonight.
I can't. I have to be serious, but literally, I can't. Every time I blink, I just see him walking into that box.
I know. I was reading something about Duke Street earlier on, and a bit later I'm going to be talking about the English Civil War, and there was the only actual fighting in this town during the English Civil War was on that, what at that time was this really tiny little narrow street, was a little sort of skirmish between parliamentarian and royalist soldiers. It was the only actual Civil War action that took place in this town, although some figures that were really important in the Civil War are strongly associated with Henley.
Right, well thank you Ian for bringing us back. Now I'm going to be talking about one of the most famous people to have lived in Henley. I'm going to be talking about Mary Blandy. Now she was born in 1720 and her father was called Francis and he was a lawyer and he was very proud of being rich and he liked to entertain. And he advertised a £10,000 dowry for his daughter. Well, as you can imagine, that was a lot of money in the time. It's quite a lot of money now, to be fair. Now, Mary herself was home educated by a mother. She was actually I think she had wit, she was fairly intelligent, but she had smallpox, and it was said that she had an ordinary face. Now, she had, however, one of her claims was that she'd danced with the Prince of Wales when she went to a season at Bath. Now, some of the people then that stepped forward for a hand, obviously, was a thriving young apothecary, but the father wasn't impressed. We had Mr. H. Now, bear in mind, Mr. H we're going to be talking about again soon. Now, he had too limited means. We had a soldier, but again, he wasn't acceptable. So you can imagine Mary is getting a little frustrated. But she met Captain D. Captain D, they had beautiful walks and they were engaged. Then the family were happy. Everything was looking really lovely. This was going to be... Oh, I think you're pulling on the mic. Oh, sorry. I'm pulling on the mic. One of us is pulling on the mic.
Not me this time.
And we're looking at Blandy House. So, Captain D, however, was called abroad on service. And unfortunately, the following year when he came back, he didn't contact Mary again. Now, during the time he was abroad, she actually met another captain, the Honourable William Henry Cranston. He was a soldier and he was a Scot. Now, apparently, a few people have described him as ugly. His face was pitted with smallpox scars, but he was 32 years old, so a mature man. She was 26, and there was obviously a draw. Now, for Francis, who liked the kind of perhaps more things about being a name, he was the 5th son of a Scots peer. Now, unfortunately, because he was the 5th son, of course, he probably had no kind of inheritance, and more likely just his wages and debts. However, his grand uncle was Lord Mark, and in the summer of 1747 he declared his intentions, which were well received by Mary. However, a bit of a fly in the ointment was that there was a woman claiming to have married him and to have had his daughter. So Mary was, well, I will accept provisionally, but we need to obviously resolve the issues of this woman. Now, the family were happy. Mary's mother was happy. She could speak to a man who was into fashion. Francis was happy. However, Lord Mark wrote to Francis and advised that actually Cranston was married with a wife and child living in Scotland. So it turned out that in 1744 he'd married Anne Murray. And in 1745, just a year later, his daughter was born. Now, she was a Roman Catholic and a Jacobite. So in 1746, knowing all this was going on, she raised court action. So everything was put on hold. And unfortunately, it was proven that yes, indeed, he was married and he did have a daughter. However, Cranston told Francis that this indeed was all about blackmail, that indeed he had said that he would marry her if she renounced her Roman Catholic faith, which she did not do, and that he would appeal, mind the step. So again, he stayed at Henley while this matter was sorted out. Now, during this time, trying to resolve it, he said to Mary that he would actually, he knew somebody called Mrs. Morgan who would give a love potion, and that love potion would actually change Francis Blandy's mind. And he actually put some in Francis's tea, and Francis had been quite grumpy, but he'd had his tea and it perked up, which was marvellous. So Francis, he was 62, he had gout, he had heartburn, so he probably was a little bit grumpy because of all the pain he was in. He told Mary that he would not allow Cranston to set foot in the building until the matter had been resolved. So Mary, in April or May 1751, received some Scotch pebbles, which were quite fashionable at the time, and a powder from Cranston, which we used to polish those Scotch pebbles. And she mixed this love potion in Francis's tea. Now, he was very ill. He left a cup of tea undrunken, and the Susan Gunnell drank it. She was also very ill. The charwoman drank some more tea that hadn't been drunk. She was also very ill. So at this stage you would think that Mary might have an indication that something was slightly untoward. Then she received a letter from Cranston saying to actually try the potion, so in more of a substance. And she was seen stirring the gruel. I think what we'll do is continue the story and walk around St Mary's Church. So she was seen stirring the pan, and she told the cook that she was just tasting the oatmeal at the bottom of the pan. However, Francis at this time was suffering great sickness. And what the cook did is she actually looked at the bottom of the pan and she found some gritty substance. And they had the foresight to lock the pan away and call for an apothecary. And they told the apothecary of their suspicions, who then told Francis. Now, Francis, they actually advised that what they should do is they should seize all her personal letters. However, he declared he had never read her personal letters before and wasn't going to start now. Later that day, Mary then put all of her personal letters in the fire, as well as a powder. Now, one of the maids then threw some coals on the fire, and although the letters burnt, the packet with the powder was actually saved. And they then sent that off for testing because Dr. Addington came down, and it was found to be white arsenic. Unfortunately, Frances died of poisoning, and Mary was then put in a room where her personal possessions were taken so she couldn't actually harm herself. And she was guarded. The following day, Edward Hearn, who turned out to be none other than Mr. H, her previous suitor, left to dig the grave for Frances, and she escaped. She ran across the bridge at Henley. However, the local community, who by now had heard what was happening, surrounded her, and she actually then hid in the Little Angel, which I actually drove past on the way down here. And she was taken back to Blandy House, where she was then kept until she was taken to Oxford to be put in prison. But unfortunately, fortunately for her, prison involved of drinking lots of cups of tea, playing cards, walking around the grounds of the keeper's house and having access to his apartments. Until there was rumours that she was going to try to escape, and she was then fettered. And then she became very keen to go to chapel and actually keen to speak to the chaplain. Now, Mary was indeed then sentenced to death. Her trial lasted 13 hours. The deliberation was 5 minutes, and the jury didn't even leave the courtroom. She was sentenced to death. She was allowed 6 weeks to prepare for her death. And when she was actually hung, she did ask, for the sake of modesty, that they didn't hang her too high so that people could actually see up her skirt. You can say poor Mary, Janie. What she did is she killed her father in the most painful way possible over a period of time. If indeed she claimed she was innocent, she claimed it was a love potion. For those of you who are wondering what happened to Cranston, the villain of the tale, of course, he escaped to France, and he was spending some time with another lady, and then he escaped to Flanders, whereupon he died at age 39. So, wow. And of course, the interesting link with Mary Blandy is that Ian actually talks about the poisoning, because at Oxford Castle...
At Oxford Castle, her ghost is believed to haunt part of the castle that was the former prison, and the prison yard where she was actually hanged. And they do say that after she had died, when she had been hanged, a blackbird came flying through the castle and perched on top of the gallows. And a blackbird has never been seen within the precincts of Oxford Castle until this day.
And Mary Blandy's ghost is quite prolific. She's meant to haunt the Little Angel, the Catherine Wheel, the Kenton Theatre, and indeed Blandy House. So at least all nearly walked completely past it. Now, for those of you who wanted to hear Ian sing a Dusty Springfield song...
you're not going to.
Now...
I don't have the range, darling.
Dusty Springfield was actually had a Catholic funeral back in 1999, and some of her ashes are here, and some of her ashes were her brother took them to the Cliffs of Moher, island. Is it Moher or Moher?
I'd call it Moher, but I don't know.
Right,
Sure.
so...
That's where Patrick Toomey was the other day.
Yes, indeed. So what we would say is son of a preacher man.
Yeah, son of a preacher man. And
It means some absolutely marvellous. And as you can tell, we think that she must be coming up for the anniversary because there are some beautiful flowers that I assume are not always here. And she was actually only 60, sadly.
Spent her latter years living here, as many famous and wealthy people have done over the years. So George Harrison, Dusty Springfield, it's like a retirement home for 1960s music artists.
And Léonie and Ian walking round.
Yeah. So we're walking past the church here, aren't we? St Mary's Church.
We are indeed.
Absolutely beautiful church. We'll get a lovely view of it when we get onto
the doors are fabulous, but we actually went in today and we met Father Jeremy, didn't we?
Oh, he was a lovely chap, wasn't he?
Absolutely lovely chap. Spoke to us because Mary Blandy, after she was executed, was actually buried between her mother and father here. Now it's actually under the chancel now, but really interesting that she was actually buried next to the person that she had murdered, although Francis did say he would forgive her as long as she would turn the villain in. And of course the villain was indeed, of course, Cranston. Now we're walking backwards. The likelihood of something going terribly wrong is probably quite likely. And that tower is 100 feet high.
And about 500 years old. So the church as a whole dates back, well, we think there's been a church here for, 1,000 years or more. But as we see it today, 15th century with Victorian alterations, but it has this beautiful stonework, this really unusual stonework effect.
And the Seymour fountain that we're looking at now was actually first installed in Marketplace, but they moved it because they considered it a traffic hazard.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could just have been walking along and banged right into it with their nose, couldn't they?
Somebody was saying,
so
surely they were hamming that up. And they did go into the pub afterwards, so I do wonder, was it a fake?
I don't know.
The first trip up definitely wasn't, but the second...
No, the second one he made a good recovery.
Yeah, well, I mean, it looked very genuine to me, if I'm honest. I mean, the fact is, I am shamefully have to admit that Ian, of course, was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just standing there laughing. So,
yeah,
that just shows...
Let's go this way.
Right, which way are we going? Right.
Go this way, and then we can... Wendy, you make an interesting point about a murderer being buried in consecrated ground.
Yes, very.
It was, I don't know, was it a special permission or?
No, well, no. Well, it was, so basically it was just before the Murder Act, and actually, had she been executed just a few months later, her body would have actually gone to the the people that chop things up.
Anatomists.
Yeah, but she actually, yes, she actually got out of that very nicely. But yes, it is very surprising. Did you want to?
We're looking, I'll hold that.
Hold the gimbal, Lily.
I'll hold the gimbal. Now we're looking at another one of the beautiful old houses of Henley. This is known as the building itself dates back to the 16th century, and it is known as the Speaker's House because it was the birthplace of a very famous Speaker of the House of Commons. So as you may know, if you follow any of our parliamentary debates here in the UK, we have the person who is responsible for chairing parliamentary debates is called the Speaker, and he's kind of the chairman, the spokesperson of the Parliament. He's the one who says, "Order, order," that one. And the Speaker in question here was one of the most famous to hold that role, and his name was William Lenthal. And he was born here in Henley, in this house, so we can see a wealthy family. And he went on to get a good education. he studied and qualified as a lawyer and then went into Parliament in 1627, and by 1640 he was chosen to be the Speaker. Now this was an interesting time to be in Parliament because it was just before the Civil War, and the underlying issues that caused the Civil War, namely should the king have to be subject to Parliament, or should the king be able to rule as he wished, those issues were still going on. And in 1642 there had been 5 particular members of Parliament, the House of Commons, who had been heavily critical of King Charles I and his policies, and he decided he was going to arrest them for treason. So he went to the House of Commons while it was in session with 400 royal troops, and with his troops he burst into the House of Commons chamber, which the king would not normally be able to do, and he demanded of the Speaker that he be allowed to take over the chair of the House. And William Lenthal kind of, well, it is the king, so he said, well, okay, Your Majesty, what do you need to say to us? And the king said, Speaker Lenthal, you have to tell me the whereabouts of these 5 members of Parliament that I want to arrest. And Speaker Lenthal, William Lenthal, did a very brave thing. He said to the king, if it please Your Majesty, I have neither eye to see nor tongue to speak, except as directed by this house, whose servant I am in this place. In other words, he is saying that the Parliament, and as the Speaker of Parliament, he is subject to Parliament alone and not to the king. So it was a really important thing, and it was a massive moment in the build-up to the Civil War. Now, Speaker Lenthal carried on in that role for many years. In fact, he ended up carrying on right through the time of the Civil War and throughout the time when we didn't have a monarchy, when Oliver Cromwell was Lord Protector. But between the death, the execution of King Charles I and the installation of Cromwell as Lord Protector, under the constitution of the time, Parliament was ruling the country, and as the chairperson of Parliament, Speaker William Lenthal, born in that house, was actually, to all intents and purposes, the head of state of this country for a short time. So a really amazing career, and a really brave man to do that, stand up against the king like that. Beautiful doors here, you know, on one of my tours, or one of Léonie's tours, because Léonie loves a door as well. Beautiful doorway.
We do love doors, don't
we? We do like a door.
Oh, we do like doors. Yes.
Corinne, you're right. That's a very polite way of saying you're not the boss of me.
Oh, is this a good idea? Have you seen how many steps there are?
Yeah, but we'll be okay.
Well, you say that.
Now, talking of monarchs, one of the many coaching inns in Henley. Henley was a transport town, you know, it's on the river, and it later became a coaching centre on the route from London to Oxford. And this pub, which is now a hotel called the Relay Henley, the Red Lion, you can see the Red Lion symbol there. Many illustrious guests over the years, including both Oliver Cromwell and King Charles I. I don't think they stayed there at the same time, to be honest. But probably the most notorious visit was by the future King George IV, as the Prince Regent, who was a man of big appetites in terms of food, drink, women. He was a man who enjoyed the finer things in life. And according to local legend, when he was at the Red Lion, he had lamb chops for his dinner, and he ate 14 of them, 14 lamb chops in one sitting. So we're going to walk across the river a little bit, aren't we? Do you want to?
Yeah. Oh, seamless, I tell you, it's seamless, so not. Right, so we're actually walking across the bridge. Now, the original bridge was built in 1170, but was actually damaged in the Civil War, and it was actually wooden, so we have this one now. It was built slightly further upstream, and its stone abutments are in the beer cellar under the front of the Angel of the Bridge pub, which we've actually got on our left here. Now, there are 5 arches which you will see when we go back, but it also has a bit of an interesting tale because it gets hit a lot. So in 2010, it was hit by Crazy Love Boat, and in 2011 there was a £200,000 repair programme. In 2012, it was hit when a barge slammed into it. That barge was stuck for 30 minutes and a tug had to pull it free. In 2016, a 60-foot Dutch barge hit it. Apparently it was being actually in charge was a bear, so that might explain that one. In 2018, a leisure cruiser hit it. And the interesting thing is that the county boundary runs through the middle of the river. So we are walking from Oxfordshire into Berkshire. So we are literally showing you 2 counties today, which I think probably may well be a bit of a hey go first. Whoops!
It's not even a first on my tours.
Is it not?
No, I've done Oxfordshire and Warwickshire in one tour.
Oh well, Ian's showing off. It's a first for a Léonie tour. I've not taken you in to do different. Now, what we'll do is I will talk about the bridge a bit more. But did you want to talk about the Thames?
Let's talk a little bit about the Thames, shall we?
And we can walk back and
Because
look at
what's going on here?
It's probably because it's pulling on the microphone and it doesn't like it. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's disentangle ourselves. So let's look. The River Thames. Henley-on-Thames. Now the Thames, as I'm sure you all know, is one of our most famous rivers because it flows through London. But before it gets to London, that's where we are. The Thames is 215 miles or 346 kilometres in length. That is the second longest river in Britain, and it is the longest river that is entirely in England, because the longest river in Britain is the Severn, and the Severn starts in Wales and flows down into England. So it's the longest river entirely within England. You know, it's relatively short distance from London, but before we had roads and railways, the River Thames was the most important transport route, not just in London, but to London. And that is one of the reasons that Henley became such a wealthy and prosperous town. From the trade that was going along the river, it was one of the largest inland ports in England, in fact. So these days the river is best known for its sport, and I think Léonie's going to talk about that in a moment when we've seen the bridge.
It's starting to rain a little bit.
It is starting to rain a little bit, but
perhaps a little bit of
get a
might not be
lovely
so
view
bad.
back of the church here and up towards the town centre. So getting a lovely view of St Mary's Church. This is kind of the only place you can really get a long way away from it. From within the town, it's quite hard to get a nice view of it. You need to wait till you're up here on the bridge. So let's head back down here, and then you're going to show us the bridge and tell us a little bit more about this.
Right, so many wires. So let's see if we can stand under the tree, and that'll make. So what you can see is in the central arch. You can see central arch. Yes, there is a sculpture of either Isis or Nemesis, which is obviously linked to the River Thames. Now, the originals are in the River and Rowing Museum, so these are obviously replacements. Now, the sculptress was Anne Seymour Damer. Now, she was actually a acclaimed sculptress. She exhibited at the Royal Academy 32 works from 1784 until 1818. She was actually born in Sevenoaks, which is Kent. She was an author, a traveller, a theatrical producer, and an actress. And the reason is that she managed to do all these things is she was actually the daughter of a aristocratic Whig family. She was highly educated, but also at the age of 17 she married John Damer, who was the son of Lord Milton. Now, they had no children and they separated after 7 years. Both had a good income and were left large fortunes. However, 3 years after they separated, he committed suicide, leaving large debts due to his gambling addiction. Now, she benefited, which is quite surprising from those days, from a prenup where her father-in-law had to pay her £2,500 a year. So she was financially independent, which meant she could continue that artistic career. Now, unusually, she had likings for male clothing. She had demonstrative friendships with women, which led to a lot of satirical writings about her. And a number of sources claim she had lesbian relationships. Now, she denied physical relationships, but she didn't deny her feelings. Now, she had a glittering social life. She was friends with Emperor Napoleon and Lord Nelson. And she lived with Mary Berry, which, for those who know the current famous Mary Berry, it was not that one. And she actually did a bronze sculpture. Now, it's the only bronze sculpture that she actually did because the costs were so expensive. The only one she did of a female. When she died, she left instructions for all of her private letters to be destroyed, but Berry refused, saying that actually that would diminish, that would not reflect the feeling that she had for the relationship that they'd had. She was buried at Sundridge, also in Kent, with her sculpting tools and the ashes of her favourite dog. Now, she was said to be the first person in England to wear black stockings, and I thought she's such an amazing, talented woman that I would actually pay homage to her in Henley. Because of that, she's obviously a Kentish woman, and I thought what I would do is I would actually wear some black stockings. But Ian, why did I not wear these?
You didn't want me to get distracted from the tour.
Well, they're not silk. She
they're not
was the
silk.
first
Okay.
person
Okay.
to wear black silk stockings. So I thought, well, what's the point in wearing black nylon? So that's just nothing. So I thought to myself, what I could wear is I could wear a black sock, because that would be perhaps the modern version of a silk stocking. But why didn't I wear my black socks?
I don't know. I can't. Oh, yes, okay.
So I thought, okay then, well, what can I do to pay homage to this woman? So I'm wearing, if she was buried with the ashes of her dog, I am wearing cat socks as homage. And what I would say is they're made of bamboo. So there is a risk, if there are any giant pandas wandering around Henley, that I will be a food source.
Let's hope not, anyway. And yes, we're talking about Mary Berry, and the current Mary Berry of Bake Off fame does live here in Henley as well. So
She does.
interesting little,
But
strange coincidence.
she did not live with Anne.
She did not live with her, no. And she had a prenup and got the money without having to murder anyone as well, which is fantastic.
She did. And perhaps she, yes, well, anyway. But she may have married, anyway. So we've talked about Henley Royal Regatta. And what you can see opposite is the Leander Club. Now, that was founded in 1818, and it is the most historic, prestigious and successful rowing club in the world. So says their website. Now, since 1908, athletes have won 138 Olympic and Paralympic medals. It's a private members club, darling, and it's one of the oldest rowing clubs in the world. And it's got Sir Steve Redgrave CBE, James Cracknell OBE. Now, in 1897, the club purchased the land in Henley-on-Thames and began the clubhouse construction. It wasn't until 1998 that the membership opened to women. Now, in 1840, the club entered a crew at Henley Royal Regatta and won the Grand Challenge Cup. One of the winners' medals was found in a Belfast junk shop about 130 years later. Fortunately, a member found it and donated it, and it's now in a trophy cabinet. Now, the Henley Royal Regatta is annual. The first year it was held was in the summer of 1839, and the reason why it's a royal regatta is in 1851 Prince Albert was the first patron, and since his death every reigning monarch has agreed. It's raced over a distance of about 1 mile and 555 yards from Temple Island to Henley Bridge. Temple Island, if you wanted to, you could rent it for a wedding. Now, there's been 4 different courses over the years, and changes have been made to improve fairness and safety. The headquarters is on the right-hand side of the bridge, and this year, if you're interested, it's been held between the 27th of June to the 2nd of July.
And it's a massive society event, isn't it? You have things like Royal Ascot horse racing meeting, you have the Henley Regatta, part of the real kind of social season for all the wealthy people. You know, it's where people get their best frocks on and their lovely hats. And
hats are not mandatory, but they do state that most people wear them, i.e. social peer pressure.
Yes, so you should, or at least a fascinator maybe.
Oh, I mean, the great thing about the Royal Regatta is no animals are harmed during the race. And talking of animals, we're hoping that we'll be able to show you something coming up here. If not, I will post some pictures on my could you keep it down? I'm talking. We'll post some pictures on Léonie on Tour. No doubt Ian will post some on his Facebook group. But you can see we've got a little swan here. We can see you've got a lady duck and a male duck. I know that's a mallard. What's a lady duck called? A hen?
No, she's just a mallard, a female mallard.
Oh, is she? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you are. I'm showing my horrendous lack of knowledge about the... And let's see what we've got. I'm getting very excited because I think if you see what we saw, Marjorie Daw, you will be very, very excited too.
No, I don't.
Don't plunge off, Ian.
No, I'll go the safe way. So here we've got the little duck.
Can you see, guys?
We've got the...
Oh,
this is
sorry,
the
I just
Egyptian
booted you.
duck, and it's got its little baby next to it.
Can everybody see the baby?
And earlier this afternoon there were 3 little baby mallard ducklings as well wandering around here on the side, and they were waddling around on the land, and we took some lovely photos of them.
Which we will show you. But this one is actually, I'll be honest, absolutely gorgeous.
Yep, it's having a nice little sleep.
Can everybody see the little ducklet?
I don't want to go any closer.
No, we don't want to because he's sleepy. And also, we don't want to be attacked.
No, that's true.
Because, do you think that would be a hey go first? Attacked by a duck on tour?
Probably. Even that's never even happened to me yet.
And look at the time, we are blasting
it's an Egyptian
through the
goose.
time.
Yes, it is. It's there was the male was here earlier as well, and they are really amazing, the Egyptian geese, because you could well go with Leslie to some of the tombs in Israel, and in Egypt, and they have, you know, they're thousands of years old, and they have depictions of those birds, and they absolutely look exactly the same. You know, they were living there on the Nile back then, and now we have them over here as well, which mainly I think the population here were escaped from captivity when wealthy people had them in their menageries in the 18th and 19th centuries. Now, I said that the Thames was really important for trade, and indeed it was. So trade would go in both directions. Yes, Corinne, it was an Egyptian goose. And we had a Canada goose as well, and the mallards, and it's definitely baby time. And, for all
Sounds
of
like
the
a
animals.
chuck-up line. Oh, sorry. Okay, it's
Look at
baby
these.
turn.
Oh, lovely. Just starting to come into flower. So two-way trade along the Thames from here. One way, of course, luxury manufactured goods coming from London and imported goods coming from the Port of London, and they were coming up here and from here being taken on up the Thames then to Oxford to supply the Oxford colleges and the wealthy people who lived in this part of the country. But in the other direction, London was being supplied from Henley with agricultural produce like grain to feed its population, like timber, because there's an awful lot of beautiful woodland around here, and the timber was going to London by boat from here. And the other things that were going to London were malt for brewing and actually beer as well, because malt and brewing were two very big industries here. In fact, there were at one time numerous maltsters and 5 at least large breweries, of which the one that lasted the longest and was the most successful was over here. It was the Brackspear Brewery, and that has now been converted, the two parts of it, into the hotel on the other side, on one side, and apartments on this side of the river. So they were the big industries here and supplying all those goods to London. And of course that's why we had so many wealthy people here building beautiful houses, having a beautiful church, and why we had wealthy people like Mary Blandy's father and the Speaker Lenthal, the lawyers, in all of those trades, generating all of that wealth. And just to finish off, because we have gone way over time, but that's okay. Because I don't know whether we have.
No, we haven't gone over yet
early.
Because I put it in for an hour.
Yes,
so we just
early,
wanted to finish off with this beautiful view of the river and the bridge. And thank you everybody for joining. Thank you so much to everybody who's been able to send a tip. I have pinned a post of pickled pepper, which was on my going to my PayPal and to my buy me a coffee, and those tips will be shared equally between myself and Ian. Now, if Henley is a town that you think you would like to see more of, then please do let us know, because we literally went down a bit of a rabbit hole with this tour. There's so much more we could have shown you, so much more we could have told you about. And what we will be doing is we're going to be, this tour's going to be available for this weekend, then I'm going to put it on private. And then we're going to have a bit of a watch party. So we're going to do the same for Ian's interview. We're going to have a bit of a watch party where we actually then join you guys in the chat. So I think that would be a little bit of fun.
And you can laugh hysterically all over again about the chap running into the, the box. So from me as well, thank you so much everybody for joining us. It's been a lot of fun down here today doing these 2 tours with Léonie, and it's been great to have you all, to welcome you all, and to show you a new place as well. And it's lovely. And we've been planning this for such a long time, haven't we?
Ridiculous.
And then we said, are we still going to do it? I'm like, yes, we are, because it's just going to be fun to do. And so,
where's Mary Berry? Well, the Mary Berry who was Anne Damer's friend, long buried. The Mary Berry who does, what's the Celebrity Bake Off?
She's got a soggy bottom, apparently.
She's got a soggy bottom, not a soggy button.
That's what we'd have if we fell in there.
Oh, we would, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Oh, I say, look at the swan. Where's Mrs. Swan or Mr. Swan? Oh, hello. Don't they come in pairs? Swans mate for life, don't they?
Yeah, but...
I mean, I'm not actually expecting you to answer that, Ian.
I don't know.
No.
I think they do, but I don't know where its mate is. I mean...
No, I wasn't
I don't know
expecting
where
you.
mine is either. I mean, I left her at home this morning. She couldn't, you know.
It is just such a stunning. Now, it's taken Ian 2 hours to get here. It's taken me an hour and a half to get here, which was good traffic for both of us. So I'm jolly hoping that the one nesting. I love that, Emily. Thank you,
yes,
thank you. I love that one. Thank you. I feel better already. I was concerned that he'd lost his wife. So, are you the male? Yes, I'm the male. I've left my wife. She's on the babies. Oh, that's wonderful. Diane says if we're quick, we can come round to mine for roasting. Good Lord, had we known that, we'd both have been round for roasting. I love a roast.
Me too. I've been for ages.
Well, there you are. Diane sent us a
I'm going to
deal.
cook one next Saturday for the coronation day. Has to be a roast dinner, doesn't it?
Well, on coronation, I'm looking to maybe meet up with a certain French lady
Oh, yeah.
whose reputation precedes her.
She's not going to try and sabotage the coronation, is she?
No, I don't think so. I think the French have improved since their.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm not sure.
He's not still claiming the crown of France as well, is he?
Well-
Let's be honest, not anymore.
So I'm going to turn the camera around.
Tell you what, we'll stand this way so we've got the bridge in the background rather than the construction
Yes,
site.
yes, indeed. We'll flip the camera.
And you can see both.
Oh, now look. Oh, we are. Oh,
tangled up
soats
now.
you. Oh, Lord. Well, I'm not
We've
surprised.
done quite well, actually.
Yeah, it's literally like spaghetti noodles. Spaghetti noodles. It is literally. Everybody's coming round for the roast.
Oh, we're all going for the roast. Cater for that many. You've opened Pandora's box there.
And we would be really grateful if you could just post some postcards on Live Virtually so other people can see that, you know, we're worth checking out if they haven't checked us out already. I look actually quite shocking, so I don't need any photos of me, more of obviously of Henley looking fabulous.
Fabulous.
I'm not feeling so fabulous.
So, yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. See you soon.
Lots of
Bye
love.
for
Take
now.
care.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.